Hey guys, another video for our Nature and Environment in Japan playlist. So you might remember this little tree. It's our cherry blossom tree. It's a couple of years old now, so it's still pretty young. It's the end of February. It's got a couple little flowers on it and a couple more buds. So as some of you would already know, cherry blossom season in Japan is usually in spring. Most cherry blossoms blossom in spring for about 10 days. And when that actually happens depends on what the season's like, what the temperatures are like, how much sun the trees get. So they often flower at different times. You might have two trees in the same park that flower at slightly different times because they get different amounts of sunlight at different times of day. So that's our little new cherry blossom tree at the end of February with its couple of little flowers there. Now we're into March. You can see not a lot of leaves. It's pretty normal for a cherry blossom tree. When they do flower, quite often they don't have many leaves on at the same time. But you can see the leaves are ready to go now. It's March. It's warming up. We're getting a bit of rain. The leaves are ready to go. So it's the beginning of March. 2 weeks later, middle of March, 2 weeks later, the leaves are on their way. Starting to green up a bit. Two weeks later, end of March, and the leaves are coming out. They're into May, and you can see it's happy now. Once you start to get into summer in Japan, most of Japan, it gets really warm, really green, really lush, and everything just grows. So obviously it's a very happy tree that time of year. Now we're into June, more of the same. The only downside to summer in Japan is the amount of bugs. And apparently the cherry blossom tree is tasty because everything seemed to want to eat the cherry blossom tree. There's always something taking pieces out of the leaves. Now, first week of October, we've got a couple of things going on here. We've got autumn happening, and we just had a typhoon. So the tree had already been losing some leaves, and then it got hit with its first typhoon, and it just got shredded. And then we had two more typhoons. You might notice, those of you who are aware of the story might have noticed that the tree, the tall tree, the pine tree that was behind this tree in the background over near that fence has disappeared. Some of you would know that story. Now look at this. Here we are, beginning of October, and there's flowers. Beginning of October. So there are some types of cherry blossom tree that do this, not all of them. but some of them do it. They will flower in spring and they will flower again in autumn. Now here we are, November, middle of November, and we've got flowers. So we didn't know this was that type of tree when we got this tree. We thought it was just a normal flowering in spring one, and it did this, it's done this. We've had it, it's probably 2 or 3 years now, and it's done it 3 times. Just suddenly in autumn it'll suddenly do this. It's got hardly any leaves, poor thing, had been beaten to death by the typhoons, and then it produced these. Isn't that great? So when it gets bigger, once it gets bigger and stronger and older, it should be quite nice twice a year, which is a bit of a bonus, isn't it? So this isn't rare. The spring cherry blossoms are what are famous, of course, but these ones that flower again in autumn are not unusual. So just to show you what this will look like when this tree is bigger, when it's a mature tree, it's bigger and stronger and healthier. Aren't they pretty? So just to give you a bit of an idea what this will look like, here are some other trees in the middle of November doing the same thing. Obviously these are more mature trees. It's a bonus, isn't it? And not many, quite often we find people haven't heard of this when we made videos on this previously. And lots of people are surprised because everybody hears about the spring cherry blossoms in Japan, but we don't hear much about the autumn ones. Here they are, and the same day in a different location. Here they are again in a park. Look at the whites and the pinks on the same branches. Look at that. Aren't they beautiful? And again, they'll flower for a couple of weeks and then they'll disappear until spring, and they'll do it again. Isn't that great? Hope you enjoyed that. More videos coming soon.